the first point I'd like to make is, from the questions I've asked the officers, it appears that by not allowing people to park in the evening or on Sunday afternoon on single yellow lines, something like 1,700 parking days are taken out of use. Now, how does that, in that loss of capacity, help drivers who are coming to the West End in the evening or on Sunday afternoon? How does it help them to find a parking space? How does reducing the capacity help drivers? That's the first thing. Second is your decision to at the cabinet meeting to move that the evening free parking for res park permit holders be taken away. How does that help residents who at the moment enjoy that privilege, and for some it's very important to be able to find somewhere to park near where they live? How does that help residents? And indeed those residents who do have a residence parking permit, I believe, have a contract with the council, which from what I've been on the website and seen, it says that if you have a res park permit, it allows you to park on the days, res park days after 5:30 p.m. It doesn't say between 5:30 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. It says after 5:30 p.m. You've sold those residence permits on the basis of that ability to park after 5:30 p.m. And now you've taken that away without any consultation or indeed any discussion. And is that fair? And how does that help residents? The third point I want to make is in terms of the cost of implementing an experimental parking regime. Can you give a bit more clear about what exactly you're spending money on in terms of the new signs, and has that contract been let yet? And I've got one final issue about parking generally, Chairman, which is last time we met you kindly told us what the shortfall in parking revenue was so far this financial year, and you told it was about 400,000 from the estimated income. Could you update us and tell us what the shortfall in parking income is so far, and what that might be projected to be by the end of the financial year? And if it is still a loss, how do you intend to ensure that it is within budget? Thank you.
I'll resist the opportunity to make partisan points, even though there are certainly a lot of partisan points hidden away in those questions. On your first point, the premise of your point is incorrect. You have taken a measurement of the amount of single yellow lines on streets in the affected zone. You have then taken an average, I assume, of the average amount per bay that the yellow line would take up, and you've done a simple division. And it's incorrect. Well, whether it's you or officers, it's incorrect. It would be the equivalent of, it is not 1,700 parking spaces, it's the equivalent of, and so it isn't true to say that 1,700 parking spaces are taken off city and streets of the City of Westminster. In fact, no parking spaces will be taken off the streets of the City of Westminster. Single yellow line can be controlled in a way which was made clear during this consultation period in order to secure the expeditious movement of traffic, which is one of our legal duties to do so. And it's mischievous to suggest otherwise, Paul, but that's your game, so I'm fine with that. But I don't think it helps your cause, as usual. In terms of the point about evening parking, again, you have every right to make these points. I think it says more about you as a questioner than in terms of your seriousness in terms of analysing parking policy. The concession to residents remains, and that concession is the first and last hours of control in the particular zones. And what officers put forward in the Cabinet report on 1st of August was an extension of that concession, a concession which has only actually been introduced a few years ago. This is a relatively recent concession which was introduced, and they propose an extension of that concession from 1 hour in the affected zones in the evenings to 5.5 hours or 6.5 hours, or whatever the maths is. Now, as is entirely appropriate, and as we have discussed over email, it is the job of politicians to look at recommendations which officers provide and then take a determination balancing up the things which politicians are there for as to whether they're appropriate. So I make absolutely no apologies for making that change. That change was made on the basis that we believe that the officers had not struck the correct balance in terms of this particular point. Now, officers had every right to do that, and I'm not being critical of officers in the slightest. We just happened to take a differing view on this specific point with regards to this policy. All of the policies which are coming in on an experimental basis, and if we have chosen a way forward which actually is not the optimum way in which for these zones to work, then we are happy to look at it. That is why we have introduced these on an experimental basis. And no doubt at the time, if that happens, you can use your usual U-turns and all the rest of it. But actually, it's a sensible approach, it's a common sense approach to say, we've made a choice, and we're going to see whether it works. If it doesn't, we'll look again. With regards to your third point on the experimental parking regime, I've sort of touched on that to some extent. The whole point of this is over the next 12 months we'll see what is and isn't working on the streets of Westminster. We'll make amendments as appropriate. I mean, I'll have to defer to Lee in terms of the formalities of the contract letting. I'm not even sure whether it's a specific contract that will be let, but certainly the activities are underway and the signs have been ordered and the activities were all ready to go on the 5th of December, and we made, in order to be in place for 5th of December, we made a decision to move that back until the 9th of January. Officers, any particular things that I have wrong?
We're using the term contract with West One to design and implement the measures. Quite standard, quite above board. There is no need for temporary implementation.
And then just on the final point, I can write to you with regards to the specific position of the parking account as of last week or this week or whatever is appropriate, in terms of the overall estimate for the for parking finances by the end of the year. I believe it's currently showing a variance of £2 million, which changes from the amount which was reported to this committee in June. As we discussed in June, and we can talk about it if you want to go into further detail, what will be, and I can't answer questions about how do I intend to bring it in on budget, because it will be what it is. We have already cut from the supply side, from the cost side, what we think is appropriate to cut in order to be able to still deliver the firm and fair service which we seek to do. But I will make no apologies for whatever money comes in. We are trying to make sure that our streets work, and we are trying to ensure fundamentally that Westminster can still get around and people can park, which is also one of the reasons why we've made these changes.
Chairman, could I just briefly add, for the avoidance of any doubt, that in relation to the total length of single yellow lines in the areas that are affected is about 1,700 metres, and equivalent to 1,700 spaces on the basis of looking at the information we have. There are some lengths of single yellow line where residents, businesses and other road users are incensed when a motorist parks on the single yellow line, because it's right on a junction, right in the way of pedestrian crossing places. So the total length of single yellow lines given to Councillor Rowley in response to questions to officers were about that, the total length of single yellow line. Within that, there are lengths of single yellow line where motorists should not be parking now. And at the moment they don't have double yellow lines, but as a consequence of the review that the Cabinet agreed, they will have double yellow lines in the near future.
I know you'll forgive my mannerisms, Councillor Koreshi, but Councillor de Moldenberg knows a lot of this full well, but still seeks to push the point, and that's what frustrates me. Officers gave a response in good faith, then Councillor de Moldenberg twists it as usual.
I think the point I was trying to make is we are here to scrutinise, and that's our role, to ask these sort of questions. But and that's why I just said, just to keep it appropriate.
Okay, let's move on. Now we turn to